Atlanta Falcons fans, the Michael Penix era has begun. Raheem Morris and the team announcing the change late Tuesday night, and they have now started the Michael Penix Jr. era, where we will see if he will be QB1 for the next decade. Kirk Cousins is through in Atlanta. Obviously, he will back up Michael Penix as time goes on, but we'll see what that means for next year and et cetera. But this was a change that needed to happen. People all over social media in Falcons fan groups, and even just guys who are fans of the game, were calling for this change. After that showing on Monday Night Football and for the last month that Kirk Cousins has showed us, there was really no other road to go. And it was very telling that Ian Rappaport was on NFL Network and basically said they know that he's physically cooked. He's not physically what he used to be. And when Raheem also came out earlier in the day and mentioned that Kirk Cousins had lost his confidence, you had to make the change once you said that. You cannot put a man out there who you know is not confident and then tell me and the fans and the media and the team that he gives you the best chance to win. The Falcons had to make the move, and they finally pulled the trigger, fighting for their playoff lives, having to win out with a big game that was just flexed into prime time in a couple of weeks against the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels as both teams fight for their playoff lives. So really big announcement today. The QB change that everybody has been calling for has finally happened. Let's break it down. So as I mentioned, Kirk Cousins has not been the Kirk Cousins that I think a lot of people expected this year. I think the majority of us did not expect Kirk Cousins to look like this. The biggest question was just, okay, how is he going to look coming back from the Achilles? You know, the first couple of weeks, he looked like a guy who ain't played in a while, rusty Achilles, right? And then he had October, and that Kirktober happened, and he balled out. And we were like, all right, yeah, we're set. And even during the first month of the season, he had that comeback on Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. And you said, okay, there's something here. There's something here. And then after October, he just took a total nosedive. And his confidence is shaken, and he's just not the same player. And Dan Orlovsky was talking about it on Pat McAfee's show. He said, I talked to Kirk, and he said that I don't know why I'm struggling. I don't know why I'm playing bad. And again, that was another sign that you had to make the change. And I think a lot of people are just going to look at it. It clearly seems like it's mental, but also the Falcons also probably believe it is also physical with Kirk Cousins. And so you had to make the move to go to your top 10 pick, Michael Penix, and bring him in and say, it's your team. Now you lead us. Now, this is a very unique situation for Michael Penix. He is coming into this, hasn't played all year outside and only played one preseason game. So he is being thrown into the fire. He is expected to get this team. I'm assuming the expectation is still get to the postseason or like make a push to get to the postseason. So he's going to be expected to play well out the gate. Now, obviously, I mentioned in my video yesterday that the Giants were probably the best week to start him because you're not going against one of the best teams in the league. Now, the Giants still have things they have to contend with. They do have a pass rush. They do have some players on that defense that Michael Penix has to contend with, and we'll see how he handles it. But obviously, I've always said that Michael Penix in this offense fits him better. And so I'm curious to now see some of the issues that they've had. How does it look now with him under center? One of the most telling stats that I think is going to obviously change with this change was that someone tweeted out earlier today, the Falcons have 3 completions on throws outside of the tackle box this season. Kirk Cousins just couldn't throw it outside of the numbers. He literally, every ball he throws outside the numbers looked fluttery, looked weak, looked like he just could not get it out there. And that was obviously a show that his arm is becoming a noodle arm. When it comes to the middle of the field, when you're just telling him, hey, throw it straight down the line, he could do that. But if you're telling him throw it outside, he couldn't. Michael Penix, even in the small sample size we've seen him in cleanup duty this year, you could see the zip, you could see the arm strength. You could see what Falcons fans, Washington fans that have been fans when he played there, even the Indiana fans, his first college team, saw. This man could throw the football. People called him coming out of the draft and coming into the draft as well, the best pure thrower of the football out of all of the quarterbacks in this draft. And this was considered a very strong draft class. Some said he was the most NFL pro ready out of all the quarterbacks in the draft class. And obviously we've seen different results. Caleb looks bad. Jayden looks great. JJ is hurt. Bo Nix looks good. Drake May is up and down. And now Penix will complete that line of first-round quarterbacks, and we will see what he is made of. Obviously, one thing I mentioned is he has a running game. The running game right now is clicking, so he has that. That's obviously extremely important for any rookie quarterback who is thrown into a situation like this. The running game, he has that. Bijan, looking like an elite running back, just hit 1,000 yards in the Monday Night Football game. So Bijan Robinson, giving him what he needs. Tyler Algier, we know what he brings to the table. The key here is going to be the passing game. The passing game has been a struggle. Darnell Mooney has not scored a touchdown, I think. I can't remember which game they said. I think it's almost been a month since Darnell Mooney has scored a touchdown. Mooney is a guy who has not been the guy we saw earlier the year because because Kirk Cousins has fell off. Drake London has been okay. I'm sure fantasy owners are probably pissed about Drake London last month because he gets catches, but he's got no touchdowns. And then also, Kyle Pitts has been the main benefactor of just all this hatred. and he sucks, and he's a bust. He's the worst player ever. But again, just like those players, Kurt falling off has led to Pitts' production being a non-factor. He hasn't been a factor in the offense. So Penix will be tasked with obviously getting the passing game up to snuff, making it more explosive, which again, we've seen the arm of Penix. He can throw the rock. All right. He can throw that ball all over the field. All right. You expect to hopefully get some mobility. Now, Penix, one thing that is a misconception is that he's this running quarterback. He's not. He is a pocket passer. But you can still be effective as a pocket passer as long as you can move in some capacity, like a Jared Goff is a prime example of that. If he can just do that, he'll be fine. Except, obviously, he has more arm talent than Jared Goff. But as long as he can move around the pocket and help the O-line if they can't hold up in protection, that will be huge. And now I'm also curious to see. I feel like Zach Robinson's had to adjust this offense a lot because of Kurt's struggles recently. And I'm curious to know, how does the offense look? Now, obviously, he's a rookie. So I'm not saying they're going to sit here and just start throwing it all over the yard. I don't think so. I might be surprised. They might. They might just say, hey, he's in there. Let's just start throwing it and see what he can do. I don't know what the approach will be against the Giants on Sunday. But, you have the ability now to maybe get into more of the stuff he wants to do. When I was at training camp for the Atlanta Falcons earlier in the summer, Penix was pretty much getting exclusive to and had some reps against the first-team defense and had some reps with some first-team players. Now, most of his chemistry is with guys like Casey Washington and them. So he has to develop that chemistry with a Mooney. He has to develop that chemistry with a London. He has to develop chemistry with a Pitts, a Ray McCloud, and guys like that. But I think he's a guy who can get up to speed quick. And you've heard that he's lighted up in practice, and they love him in that building. So I think there is a lot of confidence in Michael Penix to come out and perform well. Obviously, guys, I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think Michael Penix will do in these last 3 weeks of the season and potentially maybe even more if the Falcons sneak into the playoffs? Do you expect the rookie to look good? Do you expect some struggles? What do you want to see that makes you say, if he does this, I'm fine? Leave that down below in the comments. And obviously, if you enjoy this episode or this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video. But, Penix, man, big opportunity for him. Especially, like I said, the Sunday Night Football game going against Jade Daniels, your rookie counterpart from your rookie class. That game I expect to be a movie. A lot of people, obviously, when they made that flex, was like, oh, my God, we're in prime time. Jesus Christ, we might embarrass ourselves. Now I think there is now a different feeling in the air amongst all Falcons fans regarding that move. But let me go to Raheem for a second here. Raheem and Dan Orlovsky, like I said, he gave a lot of insight into what they were thinking. He mentioned that one of the reasons why Morris and Terry did this is because one of the big discussions of this NFL season was about quarterback development. Quarterbacks being thrown out there too quickly and expected to grow while playing. And if they don't grow while playing, now they're being told you're not going to be ever good enough. Or you're not going to be given a fair opportunity, right? Obviously, guys like Anthony Richardson comes to mind as a prime guy of that example. Geno Smith thrown out there as a rookie, obviously never reached the expectation with the Jets, gets a second chance with the Seattle Seahawks, and now he's a Pro Bowl quarterback. After getting some years to sit and learn and reset. And Morris came into this situation and said, I want my quarterback of the future, but I don't want to throw him out there immediately. Because I always said one of the reasons why I said they went after Kirk is because they don't, with playoff expectations and win-out expectations, they did not want to throw Michael Penix in there and say, get us to the postseason and also learn on the job, because that could have some disastrous moments. Obviously, if Penix struggles out the gate, that hurts you, and that could hurt and tamper expectations for the fan base. And so he wanted to protect Michael Penix. I truly believe every move he has made, he has wanted to protect Michael Penix because he does not want Michael Penix to be put in a situation where he could be set up to fail. That's one of the biggest things that I think Raheem wanted through this whole situation. That's why I think he was so resistant to putting him out there so soon, because he does not want to put him out there in a panic situation. He wants to make sure that he is ready. Listen, one thing I'll say to that is Michael Penix isn't starting week 1. He is starting in the last quarter of the season. A lot of quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, to name a couple, started at the end of their rookie years. And listen, both didn't look great. Lamar got to the postseason, but he couldn't throw. And Josh Allen was, you could tell he had a journey to go through as a passer. But it was better to start them at the end of the year when they were able to still sit and learn through the majority of the year, instead of going out there week 1 and saying, all right, you're a week 1 guy, get us there. Right? And some people are going to disagree with me. Some people are going to think you got to throw him out there. He's top 10 pick. We just got to deal with the consequences if he sucks. But Raheem wanted to try to do it the right way and monitor his development. And I can commend him for that, as much as people may not agree with that decision, right? But this was also a situation where you had to look at it and say, listen, you are in the heat of the playoffs. You want to win. You told Arthur Blank we're trying to win. The team thinks they're trying to win. You have to make decisions that will go with that method and that way of thinking. And if you say that we are trying to win football games, you have to go with your best players. And if your best player is not Kirk Cousins and it's Michael Penix Jr., then you needed to make the change. And they finally made the change. When he was uncommittal after the game, that was your first sign. And then earlier today, when he said, we are still evaluating, we are not committing to Kirk Cousins, that pretty much gave everybody the red flag and the red alert that quarterback change was on the horizon. And so now we have to put our support behind Penix. Obviously, this is huge because not only are we trying to get to the postseason, but we're also evaluating and we're all watching. Is he going to show us that he will be the QB1 for the next decade? I mean, we have gone through, as Falcons fans, a lot. We've gone through a lot through the quarterback position since Matt Ryan has left. Matt Ryan has gave us consistency for a long time. And we didn't even have to worry about the quarterback position. Now, for the last basically almost 3 seasons, we have gone through the Mariota era, the Ritter era, and then the Kirk Cousins era. And we have all been frustrated by the results of this team, by the quarterback play that we have seen, and we are tired of it. And now Penix is now giving you a chance to have that question settled, and not just settled for a year or two, potentially have that settled for, like I said, the next decade, 15 years potentially. And so Penix is going to be put in a great situation. I think, like I said, you have weapons, you have a really good O-line, and I think Zach Robinson's offense is designed for Michael Penix. So I expect Michael Penix to come out and to look good. Now, I'm not saying he's about to start throwing for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm not saying that. But I do think Michael Penix is going to come out there. They're probably going to be like, take what the defense gives you. And the thing about Penix, and this is something I saw in camp, and I'm sure we'll see it on Sunday. He's an aggressive thrower. He will throw that in there because of his arm talent. So do not be surprised if some of the throws are a little aggressive. He's trying to zip some in there because that's the type of quarterback he is. That's the type of thrower he is as a player. So, Michael Penix is going to be put in a position to be successful. To me, with what we have going and for the future. Now the Kirk Cousins. What happens with Kirk Cousins? So obviously the big thing is There are multiple options that the Falcons can go down with Kirk Cousins. The first option, and the best option for them, would be Kirk Cousins retires. Obviously, if he retires, they're off the hook financially and don't have to worry about the cap hit. If you're Kirk Cousins, after seeing your physical decline, and then your wife's from Atlanta, you're in Atlanta, it seems like you like it there, and there's no guarantee that you will be able to get another starting gig again, I think you have to seriously consider retirement if you're Kirk Cousins. I just feel like you have to, because like if you're and I mentioned this in my video last night, if you feel like you cannot physically do the things you used to do and it's impacting you mentally, what is the point of trying to play another year? I guess what? To get money? That's it. That's the only incentive you have at this point of your Kirk Cousins, is just to get paid. And he's never seemed like, even though he's gotten paid a lot of money in his career, he doesn't seem like a guy who's like, I'm just going to stay in the game to get another paycheck. He seems like if he's going to be here, he wants to continue to play, he's going to want to play football. You might be able to get a backup job somewhere because somebody might be saying, okay, he may not be a starting quarterback anymore, but he can be a backup, right? And then I think also if the Falcons trade him, a team also has to agree to take on some of his salary. So it's going to very much limit their options in that regard. So Kirk Cousins may have to consider retirement, which would obviously be the best case scenario for the team in terms of their finances. Now they could cut him, and then I think I've seen numbers from a $40 million cap hit to a $50 million cap hit. I think after June 1st or July 1st, it's a $40 million. Before that, it's a $50 million. And so you could cut him. Obviously, this will go down as a very catastrophic move for the regime, that you paid a guy that much money to cut him in a year. So that's not a good look at all for you to have to cut him. But I mean, if he's not willing to be a backup, what other options do you have? And then obviously you could trade him. But again, I just mentioned who would want Kirk Cousins. And then I said this yesterday, because you started Michael Penix, the teams, if you try to trade him, know you have to trade him. So the Falcons have no leverage in trade talks. They know that you want to get rid of Kirk Cousins. And as a team, I'm having to take on some of his salary. Why do I want Kirk Cousins, who looks cooked? Why would I want him on my roster? So that's going to make it extremely difficult. That like a Kirk Cousins trade could easily result in the team getting a 5th round pick back, really. Like if Kirk was playing well, like the obviously dream scenario for the Falcons is Kirk's playing well, Penix is ready, we trade Kirk, and we're still able to get a day 2 to day 1 pick for him. You may not even get a day 2 now. You may have to get a day 3 pick for Kirk Cousins because of his play and the fact that it looks like he's declined. And is that good enough for you to trade him? Maybe you have to. Obviously, that's something you have to decide. And then he could be the backup. That is the last option. He could be the backup next year. And I guess it's not bad in terms of if you're just looking at the player, but it's bad because you're paying a backup so much money to be your backup and eating up a chunk of your cap. So that's the unideal part of that right there. So Kirk Cousins, has some decisions to make. The team has some decisions to make. But first, it's just going to start with first. Is Cousins going to retire? If he retires, team has no decisions to make. He's off the books. You got your money back. You're good. If he decides to want to continue to play football, that's when Raheem and Terry have to get together and figure out what is the best course of action at the quarterback position. But yeah, so, I mean, big decision made by Raheem Morris tonight, going with Michael Penix Jr. as the quarterback for the rest of the year and for foreseeable years to come. I wish him the absolute best. I wish him good health. Obviously, that was a big thing coming out of college for Michael, was his health. Wish him health, wish him successful play, and I wish him growth. Rookie quarterbacks, man, they're going to go through rookie struggles. They're going to have their rookie moments, and it's going to be up to Penix to, work through those. But he has to work with TJ Yates, quarterback coach. He's going to need him more than ever. Listen, the Falcons have like 5 quarterback coaches. This is why you got all 5 of those guys, because you wanted to create the perfect support structure for a guy like Michael Penix Jr. to get him to where you need him to be. So whenever his number is called, he can come into the game and play and hopefully play well and lead you to success and wins. This is now everything that you have, the plan that you have put in place for Michael Penix, the structure you have put in place for Penix, everything is now at the forefront. We will see if all of this works out. We will see if Michael Penix first can get them to the postseason. Obviously, the Falcons can win out and still not make it. They have to have some things go their way. The key here for the Falcons in their playoff scenarios is that you need Seattle to lose one more game, and then you have to win out. And if you do that, you will be in the final wildcard spot because you will have the tiebreaker in Washington and you will have a better record than Seattle. I think also, I don't know how tiebreakers, but I was looking at tiebreakers earlier, and I think if all three teams tie, but the Falcons beat the Commanders, I think the Falcons will also get the tiebreaker because they have the better conference record. Because Washington and Atlanta both have a better conference record than Seattle. Even though Seattle has a tiebreaker on Atlanta, they have the tiebreaker on the Commanders. So I think they'll go to conference record, which Atlanta will have the better conference record. So I think they either have to go three-way tie with them beating the Commanders, or Seattle loses one more game and Atlanta wins out. And then they'll make the postseason. Those are your two paths in the wild card. And obviously the NFC South, if Tampa Bay falters at one of these games and they win out, then they'll win the NFC South and be hosting a home playoff game in Mercedes-Benz. So that's what you're looking like right now. That's what Penix is going to be tasked with. Expected to play well in must-win games for him. And I'm very curious to see what is next and the game plan and how they call the game against the Giants on Sunday for Michael Penix Jr. The Michael Penix Jr. era has began in Atlanta. Falcons fans rejoice. I know you've been waiting for this for a while. We will have to see what happens. As I've mentioned, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comments down below on what you think. Any thoughts on anything that we talked about in this video, leave your thoughts down below. And let's see what the Falcons do as we make one last playoff push in December. It's your boy, Bryce Lewis. See you next time.